Okay, so now this is the section 2, and in section 2 we're going to discuss about the breast disease symptoms, how they're going to present to you, how a patient with a breast disease is going to present to you. So in this section we'll talk about palpable masses, we'll talk about mastalgia, and we're going to talk about nipple discharge. This is very, very important flow sheet, and this is really going to help you understanding what kind of presentation a patient would have while coming to you with a breast disease, and then like what would be the differential diagnosis or what will be the probable diagnosis which is coming into your mind when a patient is coming to you with a specific complaint. So a patient can present to you with a palpable lump, she can present to you with a mastalgia, or she can present to you with a nipple discharge. Right. If a patient is coming to you with a palpable lump, like maybe a patient is saying that I was taking shower and incidentally I found out to have a mass in my right or left breast, or maybe bilaterally, then what you're going to do? Obviously, you'll follow the triple assessment, you'll perform the history, you'll take a detailed history, then you'll perform the clinical examination, you'll palpate, and after palpation and ordering for specific investigation, what probable diagnosis or differential diagnosis that will come up into your mind. So you can say that a breast lump can be benign, it can be malignant, and in benign breast diseases, it can be a breast abscess, it can be fibrocystic change, it can be fibroadenoma, it can be some infection, cyst, hematoma, or fat necrosis. And if the lump is malignant, what comes into your mind when you're talking about a malignant lump? That is lobular carcinoma in situ, ductal carcinoma in situ, or invasive carcinoma. So basically that was about the lump, and then you have to order for ultrasonography or mammography, and then you have to make a provisional diagnosis, and then you have what other complaint the patient may have while presenting to you with the breast disease, and that is mastalgia. And what comes into your mind when the patient is saying I am having a breast pain, or she can actually complain you cyclical pain or non-cyclical pain. It can be either way. She will say that my pain, the breast tenderness or the breast pain is associated with my cycle periods, or she can say that it is not related to my cycle length or my menstruating period. It is just it is progressive, or it's all day long or all day night. So it depends upon the presentation of the patient. So it can be a fibrocystic change, it can be cyst, it can be duct obstruction, it can be mastitis, or it can be trauma. The other thing the patient may present to you with is a nipple discharge. And what comes to your mind? What are the differential diagnoses you will make up into your mind when the patient is complaining of a nipple discharge? So that is duct ectasia. That is basically what ectasia is. It's basically the dilatation of the duct. So that there are lobules and there are ducts, and whole of the secretion of the breast is coming to the nipple, to the duct. And when there is ductal ectasia, the duct is dilated, there will be more of the discharge coming to the nipple, and the patient will present it with a nipple discharge, which would be maybe serous or serosanguinous, right? So this is basically the ductectasia and intraductal papilloma or carcinoma or Paget disease of the nipple. So the patient may present to you with a breast lump, patient may present to you with a mastalgia, and the patient may present to you with a nipple discharge. This flow sheet is really going to help you in making your provisional diagnosis. If it is a palpable lump, it can be benign, it can be malignant. If benign, this is breast abscess, it can be fibrocystic change, it can be fibroadenoma, it can be infection, mastitis, cyst, hematoma, or fat necrosis. And if in case of malignancy, it can be lobular carcinoma in situ, ductal carcinoma in situ, invasive carcinomas as well. They can also present with a palpable mass. So if a patient is coming to you with a mastalgia, you'll think about fibrocystic change, you'll think about cyst obstruction, You'll think about cyst or duct obstruction. You'll think about mastitis or trauma. And if a patient is coming to you with a nipple discharge, it can be ductectasia, intraductal papilloma, carcinoma, or the Paget disease of the nipple, right? So now I would talk about fibrocystic breast disease, right? You can see in this diagram, actually, you can appreciate that this is a healthy breast, and the lobules and these are normal in size, the ducts are not dilated, and there is like normal composition with a normal distribution of the fat tissue, right? But if you talk about the fibrocystic breast disease, that's basically a physiological change. You cannot say that it's a pathological change. It's a physiological change, and because of repeated hormonal influences, because when a woman is menstruating, or actually she is undergoing a lot of hormonal changes, a lot of hormonal influences, so what happens that there is fibrocystic physiological changes in her breast. You can appreciate that there's hypertrophy of these glands, and the breast tissues actually increase in size as compared to the healthy breast. So this is a fibrocystic change, right? So it can be a stromal fibrosis, it can be macro or microcyst, it can be apocrine metaplasia, it can be hyperplasia, it can be adenosis, and the patient can present with a breast pain, breast mass, or the nipple discharge, right? So what comes to your mind when I say fibrocystic breast changes? So fibrocystic breast changes is not a pathological condition. It's a physiological condition which happens because of the changes in the hormonal levels in the body, and that's because of regular menstrual cycles or regular influences of the hormones which are changing during your repetitive monthly cycles. So that's basically a fibrocystic breast change. And actually the stromal component, it can maybe a stromal fibrosis, stromal component is increased, or there can be macro microcyst, there can be apocrine metaplasia, there can be hyperplasia, there can be adenosis. So these all are actually under the category of fibrocystic breast disease, right? And now we're talking about the breast cyst. These are very common and they're smooth. They can be smooth. They can be tender masses. They can be but they are well-defined masses. A cyst and fibroadenoma, they have a specific characteristic that they are very well-defined borders, and they're also very well demarcated, right? So you can you can appreciate in the diagram that this is the breast tissue, nipple, lobules, areola, and this is a well demarcated, well defined, having a particular regular defined borders. This is the cyst, and it can be tender mass or it can be smooth. And if it is tense with a fluid, and the texture of the cyst is fluid in consistency, that will present as a solid mass. And what you have to do is you have to perform the aspiration to determine the nature of the mass, solid or cystic, and sometimes they resolve spontaneously because they're also produced during the hormonal influences. So what happens is sometimes they resolve spontaneously, and sometimes you have to perform the aspiration. If it is, the cyst is, cystic in nature, it will go away with aspiration. If it is solid, it may persist, and you need to perform further investigations. So another thing which comes into the benign category of masses, that is basically the fibroadenoma, and it is very, very common in the females of reproductive age, like maybe in the young teenager woman, or maybe in a fertile age. It's very common. It can be unilateral, it can be bilateral, but bilateral fibroadenomas are more common than the unilateral fibroadenomas, and they are firm, they're smooth, they're mobile masses, and they may enlarge during pregnancy, and they're called as breast mouse, right? The fibroadenoma is known as breast mouse because of its mobility. It's very, very mobile. It's not tethered to the skin. It has no skin fixity. And it's actually, it's very mobile. It can be unilateral, it can be bilateral, but sometimes they spontaneously regress under the influence of your hormones, or sometimes they persist throughout their life, and they invalid after menopause, right? And sometimes what happens that you have to perform the excisional biopsy of the fibroadenoma if it is increasing in size, or it is extremely tender. Otherwise, maybe some women ask you to remove it for the cosmetic reasons, but fibroadenoma, it's highly benign. It is no potential for malignancy until and unless it's increasing in size and causing you pain. There's no indication for the surgery, and sometimes they spontaneously invalidate, sometimes they invalidate after the menopause, and if you do ultrasonography, you will find a well circumscribed border, and it's highly benign and highly mobile as well, right? And so this is a mobile fibroadenoma, which is found just in the breast parenchyma. Now coming up to mastalgia, already told you the mastalgia is basically the breast pain, right? What is mastalgia? This is a typical breast pain, and it can be cyclical or non-cyclical, and there are number of causes of mastalgia. Sometimes our carcinoma may present to you with a breast pain, but in 80% of the cases, the etiology is benign. It can be a fibrocystic, there can be the fibrocystic breast change or mastitis, or maybe abscess that can actually present with a mastalgia, and you have to manage the patient with a symptomatic therapy. Like you have to control, either you have to give her the painkillers for the pain management, or you have to investigate and you have to treat the cause, right? If the cause is a fibrocystic change disease, or if the cause is a breast abscess, you have to treat that particular abscess, right? And what comes into your mind when the patient presents to you with a nipple discharge? I already told you there's a physiological nipple discharge, or there's a pathological nipple discharge. So if we talk about the physiological nipple discharge, it's very common in the pregnant woman, right? Because under the influence of the hormones, there's ductal dilatation, and the breast size is increasing and the secretion is popping up into the breast, right? So that leads to the physiological physiological nipple discharge, right? But in pathological nipple discharge, it can be bloody or watery or serous, or it can be because of lactation, or it can be galactorrhea. And it's basically serosanguinous in case of malignancy in 10% of the patients. It can be because of benign intraductal papilloma, or it can be because of ductictasia or fibrocystic disease. I already told you about ductal ectasia, and already explained you what the fibrocystic disease is, right? And there's another presentation. A patient may present with a hard lump and fever and breast tenderness, pain, and all these things. So that will indicate a breast infection, and it can be simple lactational mastitis. It's very, very common in the patient, especially in the women with the breastfeeding, right? Why it happens? Because there can be cracked nipple because of lactation, and that because of there's an organism on the skin or on the surface of the breast that is Staphylococcus aureus, and what happens when the nipple is cracked, it penetrates into the skin, and it actually causes infection inside the breast tissue, like inside the parenchyma, or maybe the lobules or the ducts, they're infected, and you can appreciate a patient will present to you with all the signs of inflammation, redness, pain, swelling, all these things. And inside you can see that this is skin redness. The whole of the lobule is actually inflamed because of the penetration of that particular organism. In most of the cases, 90% of the cases is Staphylococcus aureus. And breast infections include lactational mastitis, and it also includes the breast abscesses as well. You have to drain the abscess, or you have to give the antibiotic cover for maybe a week or maybe a couple of weeks, and then it is subsided gradually with a response to the antibiotic, right? So that was all about section 2. We talk about the presentation and all those how the patient will come to you and present to you. It can be a palpable lump, or it can be a nipple discharge, or a mass. Mass can be benign or malignant. What makes a mass benign? Like if it is well defined, it's you can actually palpate the edges, borders. That means it's benign. And if the mass is irregular, it would be malignant. And you obviously fibroadenoma, fibrocystic changes, mastitis, trauma, fat necrosis. These are all the changes of the benign breast diseases. And in malignancy, there is lobular carcinoma in situ, ductal carcinoma in situ, and then invasive cancers. And if a patient is coming to you with a nipple discharge, what will come to your mind when you talk about all these things? That is ductectasia or intraductal papilloma, intraductal carcinoma. So these are basically the things which are coming into your mind, and the patient may present to you with a mastalgia, and that means it can be cyclical or it can be non-cyclical, and it can be because of fibrocystic changes. Most of the time, mastalgia has a benign etiology, but sometimes carcinoma may present with this. So this was all about section 2, and thank you for watching Sqadia. For section 3, for the detailed section 3, keep watching Sqadia. Thank you.